Hello viewers, I'm Ron Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time. On Saturday evening, among the territory's leading business executives, members of government and visiting regional guests, CCT's Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Avrai Penn, was awarded the BVI Investments Club Corporate Leadership Award. Now, the award was given during the BVI Investment Club's 30th anniversary Black Tie Dinner. The award acknowledges and celebrates exemplary leadership that has a significant and very positive impact on advancing the organization. With the club's portfolio of interests, the recipient must demonstrate initiative, promotes a work environment that is respectful, of course, and supports and leads an executive team to achieve results and is an excellent role model. I'm honored to be joined by my CEO, Mr. Avrai Penn, to discuss not only this award, this exemplary award that he received during the 30th year anniversary of the BVI Investment Club, but really chronicling the journey of CCT since taking leadership. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
Freeze. Choose your mix, choose your flavor.
Viewers, welcome back and thank you so much for sticking with us. As promised, I am joined by CEO of CCT, Caribbean Cellular Telephone, Mr. Avrai Penn. Mr. Penn, welcome to the studio. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
As mentioned, the BVI Investment Club celebrated its 30th year anniversary, which is, of course, a very significant milestone. You took up the leadership of CCT in 2013, am I correct?
Correct.
And with that, of course, came a number of challenges, which we're going to get into. But I want to start with the BVI Investment Club and their 30th year anniversary, with you being the recipient of the Corporate Leadership Award. Tell us about from your seat, having worked with the BVI Investment Club, what are you most proud of when you look back at all that the organization and the board has been able to do?
Well, I'm really proud of what the BVI Investment Club has accomplished over 30 years. To really have locals have a stake in our community, an economic stake. We're really proud to be, have them as our ownership group at CCT. I think we're one of the only locally owned telecommunications companies in the Caribbean.
Correct.
And that's, that comes with some challenges, obviously, because of scale and size, but we continue to be able to punch above our weight. And it's something that we're really proud of, and it's something that they've stood behind. There were times when they had to really dig deep and make huge investments to make this company come alive. Particularly when I took over in 2013, we had some challenges at that time, but they stood behind the company and made
Beautiful.
that investment, and I think that they deserve all the praise for that. And I'm also really particularly impressed in how CCT was their first investment, but they've really been able to go from just doing that to doing many other things within the communities. And so I think they should be lauded for those accomplishments.
Indeed, and of course CCT is still standing and standing stronger than
Absolutely.
ever. We're going to get into some of the challenges, of course, and how the company under your leadership was able to overcome them. But one of the things that you said, Mr. Penn, during the evening of the 30th year anniversary celebration, and I quote, you said, "I humbly accept, not as an individual, but on behalf of all the managers and staff of Caribbean Cellular Telephone who make me look good every day.
Yes,
Leaders are only as good as their people, and I am very fortunate to have such excellent people." Tell me about your team at CCT.
Yeah, that's something that I'm really proud of, and it was important that I say that because there's not something that I could do on my own. I'm only as good as the people who I have working with me, obviously. In 2013, when I took over CCT, I made a really concerted effort to put together a young, dynamic team to really kind of bring some new energy to
Yes.
the company and really lead us into the future. The managers that I selected at the time were all really young. And the investment club had some patience with me and with them, and I think they've all grown into the positions that they have right now, to where we do really well. I mean, all my managers right now I think are under 40, and they are dynamic young people in and of themselves here in the BVI community, and that's what allows us to be able to be successful as a company.
And one of the things, in speaking of your managers, that I think is important to highlight is that they are all Virgin Islanders. Am I correct?
Yes, they are all Virgin Islanders. I mean, and that's not necessarily by intention, but
Correct.
obviously, if there are people here in our community that can take up these jobs and be successful, we have to give those people those opportunities. So we're proud to always be a company that centers around that. We try to do a lot of things in our company around training and around building people up. Like one of the things that we've done for as long as I've been here, the 9 years I've been here, is we always make time for people to go to school, for example. We've sent several people away on scholarship. We have a lot of people who started their career at CCT while they were at HLSCC, and we would schedule them around their classes and so on. And by working with people as they developed themselves, it helped us to develop our company, because the better your people become, the better your company becomes.
I totally
and that's something
agree.
that we've been committed to from the very beginning.
And speaking about people, one of the people that the BVI Investment Club has lauded for their success and really in the initial stages, really putting not only his money where his mouth was, but his support, the Honorable H. Lively Stout, the former Chief Minister, the very first Chief Minister of these Virgin Islands. He saw the vision, he supported it along with others, but he has been lauded as one of the individuals who has really was really supportive of the institution. When you look at the investment club and their sacrifices that they've made in order to make sure that locals have a stake, and of course when we put that trajectory together and we map it up with persons like H.L. Stout, a leader, when you look at leaders holistically in our territory like yourself, what do you think we should be paying most attention to?
Well, I think we've got to pay a lot of attention to the youth and kind of how we prepare the next generation. At the investment club, they talked at length about Honorable Stout's contribution and helping them to bring this investment to a fruition.
Yes.
And create really making sure there was an opportunity for local involvement. And I think that is obviously to be lauded, but even as we look at leaders today, none of us is going to be here forever. I recently turned 50, so I'm getting old myself.
Indeed.
And we have to all think about what is the next generation. That speaks to what I was saying about education, and it speaks to what we're saying about training and making sure that we have bright people to move us forward. I think we've got to get out of. Some people sometimes have the mentality that they're in charge and they want to be in charge forever. I think it becomes very unproductive in a society. Society has to be about succession.
Okay.
Whether it's a company, whether it's politics, even in families, if you have a family business, it has to evolve from one generation to the other, because wealth is a generational concept. You can't hope to compete with a family that's been, working in a business for 5 generations, and you do it in 1 generation, unless you're going to win the lotto.
Yes.
Most of us aren't going to win the lotto. We're going to have to toil over our time, and then hopefully put our children in a better position, and then they toil over their time, and then our grandchildren will be in an even better position. I think that's the way we have to look at it moving forward. I think those are the lessons that we should have learned from our forefathers, and I think we have, but I do think sometimes we begin to forget them, and I think that's that Virgin Island ethic that if we can get back to, I think we'll be able to build up a lot of institutions.
Understood. Now, being at the helm of the company for the past 9 years, as we mentioned before, and they also, of course, highlighted at the BVI Investment Club Black Tie Dinner that there were a number of challenges, and they continue to be, dating back to, of course, Hurricanes Irma and Maria, the pandemic of COVID. Of course, when you took over, having to essentially not only rebrand but start from scratch. CCT has always been the underdog, but nevertheless, the organization continues to really be on par with the other 2 major competitors.
Absolutely.
They also mention the consistent fight sometimes, for lack of a better word, within the telecom industry. I want to go back to that, and I want you to speak and put into perspective some of the challenges and how a CEO, along with your team, CCT, has been able to maneuver through those challenges.
Absolutely. Well, telecommunications is probably the most competitive industry in the Caribbean.
It is.
It's an extremely competitive industry. We're competing against 2 companies, which are probably billion-dollar companies in Digicel and Flow. So you have to really position yourself and say, how are we going to take the fight to them as much as they're taking the fight to us? And you don't always have the same resources, but you can't use that as an excuse. I think Irma is a great example of that. I remember after Irma, obviously our network was devastated. The other networks on the islands were also devastated. And it was a real race to see who could get their network back up first. And there were a lot of people who doubted we'd be able to survive or to get our network up. And we got our network up in pretty much the same time frame as everyone else. And we did it with much less people. You know, I remember seeing how many people that our competitors brought in. Many people will know my family's in the hotel business. There was a time when our competitors had more people staying in our hotel that had come to help fix their network than I have on our staff.
Understood.
But we didn't let that discourage us. We became kind of a all hands on deck mentality. We had, I think, 11 engineers at the time, and then whoever else we had on the team, whether they were retail, customer service, finance people, was how do we support our engineering team? I remember, for example, our office manager set up and had the ladies go and do shopping, and you know they cooked a great feast basically every day. We basically had a buffet every day at the data center, so that our guys knew that they were always going to have food, they're going to have this, that, and the other, because that was their way of helping. Because you know there was no need to go turn on the computer and check QuickBooks. There was no finance operation to speak of at that time. But you know, your job is not just what your function is; it's always whatever else I can do to help the organization.
And fitting into various roles.
Yeah, and that I mean, to me, that's buy-in. That's, you know, when people buy into the mission and they're willing to go above and beyond themselves to try to make sure that we all succeed. And that's why we were able to come back. It wasn't that we had any secret sauce. The secret sauce was we were together.
Understood. And speak to us from your experiences of navigating through the pandemic of COVID-19.
The pandemic has been another similar challenge. You know, we've had to figure out how to do a lot of things remotely. We've had to, you know, really try to figure out how to change our services in some ways. You know, from a telecommunications perspective, before the pandemic or even now, you'll see a lot of people would come to town every day. So your network is set up for having a large influx of people come to town every day. They'll be on your network. Now, obviously, during the pandemic, no one was coming to town, and that traffic was moved out to the countryside, and we had to readjust our network and reimagine how we were going to be able to do our services. But you know, a lot of these challenges, as much as they were challenges, we have some advantages at CCT. And one of our big advantages, we make all our decisions here. You know, there's no one, we don't have a corporate office in Miami or in London or wherever theirs is that says, you know, do this and do that and isn't in touch with what's going on the ground.
This is the base.
Yeah, the people who are making the decisions are right here on the ground. And because we spent that money and that investment in training and in education, they're competent to make those decisions. So I, as a CEO, can trust that my engineer knows what he's doing. I can trust that our sales manager knows what's going on the ground. And that's a real difference, I think, that we have vis-a-vis our competitors.
Amazing. Of course, I know that the support of CCT is reliant on the support of the BVI community. And
Absolutely.
For years, residents and citizens have rallied around CCT, the home team. What do you say to the clients and supporters and Virgin Islands community who continue to support CCT?
Well, we really appreciate their support, and we hope that we're a company that they can be proud of. I mean, we have our problems like everyone else, but we've continually been punching above our own weight. We've continually to be growing. I mean, we've grown in customer base, I think, every month for the last 6 or 7 years. So that's, you know, that doesn't just happen. You know, that is a lot of people making a lot of effort day in, day out to make sure that you have a great company. There's no easy button, as I would say. Okay. You know, you've got to figure out what is the latest thing going on. How do we need to change our product? You know, what are they doing in the bigger markets? You know, we live in a first world country in a sense, because we live so close to the American economy that we expect everything to be similar as if we lived in New York or Washington, D.C. or California. And we understand that. And we work every day to try to deliver that. And that's, you know, I hope that our community is proud of our efforts, and we continue to, you know, try to make them proud.
Understood. Now, what would you say is next for the organization? Of course, we are getting ready to close out 2022. The end of the year is approaching. Hindsight being 2020. What's next?
Well, I think what's next is really trying to make a more dynamic telecommunications company. Telecommunications it used to be, it was about the phone. I remember when I took over in 2013, I remember we had a staff meeting, and one of the things I said is, we're not a phone company, we're a data company. And that was a big idea at the time because we were Caribbean Cellular Telephone.
Yes.
And we don't really use that name much anymore. We just use the acronym because we're not a cellular telephone
Correct.
company per se. You know, internet is a more vibrant product in our community today than phone service. And as we see that, that obviously will have, you know, new products and new dynamic products. We've moved into TV now. We've moved into fiber to the home. We're continuing to look and see, you know, what are the cutting edge companies? What's AT&T doing? What's Verizon doing? What's Vodafone doing? And say, okay, how do we do those same things here? Because we want to hold ourselves to that standard. And that's what we've been trying to do all through 2022, and you can look forward to the same in 2023.
Amazing. Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you on the award. Much success is wished to you and the entire CCT team as you continue to navigate. Viewers, just so you know, the Secretariat Award went to Miss Ermin Richardson, Miss Judith Charles, and Miss Burnett Scatliff won the Community Awards. Miss Kristen Fraser, Mr. St. Clair Fleming, they took home the Entrepreneurship Awards. And as mentioned again, the Corporate Award went to Mr. Avrad Penn. Now, the BI Investment Club also said that the club's initial investment has provided the opportunity for our young people to find a remarkable opportunity at a dynamic and agile and very competitive time, of course, speaking holistically to the telecommunications company that is, and CCT being a prime example for that. Mr. Penn, thank you so much for your time and stopping by the studios. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Viewers, that's all the time we have. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.